Good morning, Namibia, and welcome to the Government Information Center, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Windhoek. I'm Shakik and Jimmy, and I'll be your moderator for this session. This is the Cabinet Committee briefing session, where we bring you up to date with developments within government. Of course, this is also related to government offices, ministries, and agencies. This time around, we bring back the Ministry of Justice to just bring us up to date with what they have done for the past few months. Don't forget, you can also interact with us on social media. Ask your questions. Don't forget, it's an interactive session. With that said, let me now welcome the Honorable Minister of Justice, Honorable Yvonne Dowsep, to deliver her statement.
Thank you very much, moderator, and also good morning to the Namibian nation on the various platforms of MICT. Namibians aspire to life, dignity, liberty, justice, and the pursuit of happiness. Consistent with this constitutional imperative, the President of the Republic, and to instill renewed hope, His Excellency declared 2023 the year of revival. He did so every year since taking office in 2015. The themes were often mutually reinforcing and often reflected a sense of stock-taking and building on existing work and achievements. Many of the themes also anchored the metaphoric Namibian house that is inclusive, where no one should feel left out, and where prosperity is shared. As the Ministry of Justice, we subscribe to these values and principles. As a ministry, we contribute to achieving these objectives by using the law as a tool to enhance social justice, whilst recognizing that law is not everything, but it is an important enabler for policy certainty and for the definition of the nature and scope of the institutional arrangements that will actualize our political will. The needs of our people are evolving. The expectations are myriad, and the hope is glaring. And this means, as a ministry, we must be responsive to the needs of our people, requiring of us to remain adaptable and relevant. The Namibian Constitution is the supreme law, the various legal texts available in our laws, and the obligations we have committed to under international and regional instruments all speak to our commitment to improve the lives of our people. The Ministry of Justice delivers its services through its key service centers, namely legal aid, legislative drafting and law reform, legal services, master of the High Court, capital projects, responsible for infrastructure development and administration, and budget support services to three major constitutional offices: Attorney General, Prosecutor General, and the Ombudsman. The Ministry of Justice is an important key functionary for the maintenance of the culture of the rule of law and the promotion of human rights in the country. At the heart of our core functions lies the strategic mandate of provision of legal services and ensuring access to justice for all citizens, guided by the core values of integrity, transparency, accountability, and service excellence. The ministry is distinguished by its key service centers, each playing a pivotal role in advancing our mandate. Legal aid remains a cornerstone, ensuring that the principles of justice are accessible to every individual, irrespective of their economic circumstances. Legislative drafting and law reform stand as testament to our dedication to shaping legal frameworks that are robust, fair, and responsive to the evolving needs of our society. The Master's Office stands as a symbol of our commitment to efficient estate administration, while legal services encompassing maintenance and community courts is the front line in addressing issues critical to the well-being and cohesion of our communities. Capital Projects provides much needed support to the Office of the Judiciary to ensure court and related infrastructure are in place to ensure the administration of justice through the availability of courts in various parts of the country. Our role is to support the independent judiciary to fulfill its equally important mandate to dispense justice in a speedy, fair, reasonable, and just manner. The support services to the Attorney General, Prosecutor General, and the Ombudsman ranges from the accountability support the Executive Director's Office provides to them, the appointment of key functionaries, budgetary provision, and the mouthpiece role of the Minister in the National Assembly on their behalf. These are important constitutional offices that play integral roles in upholding justice. Our unwavering support is central as they navigate the complexities of their respective roles. In our previous briefing, we provided details around the structure, composition, and staff complement of the ministry, as well as some highlights of milestones we achieved at that point. It has been approximately 2 months since that briefing. Some of the highlights would be a continuation, whilst others are new developments. Legislative reforms in Namibia. Through the Directorate Legislative Drafting in the Office of the Attorney General, the Ministry has enabled the passing of 12 bills through Parliament to address shortcomings in our ability to combat money laundering and terrorist financing. The Ministry of Justice is one of the key stakeholders that pushed for the implementation of the letter and spirit of those laws through improved institutional arrangements. Furthermore, the Ministry of Justice also ensured the following bills were finalized, tabled, and approved and/or passed during the November session of the National Assembly. The Magistrates' Court and High Court amendment legislations that provided for an increase in the Magistrates' Court jurisdictional value, making courts more accessible, given that more people will be able to take their cases in the districts they live. Improved safeguards against repossession of primary homes through improved text in both the Magistrate and High Court amendments, which ensure firmer oversight of those proceedings by our courts. Towards the end of last year, the Combating of Domestic Violence and Combating of Rape bills were passed. Number 3, the legislative draft have also finalized their drafting manual and guidelines for drafting of notices and proclamations and executive memorandums for use by various ministries, offices, and agencies. This manual will streamline how lawmaking and policy development will work in the country. Number 4, the ministry further reports that the following bills were among many others that were drafted in preparation for tabling next year, namely the Ombudsman Bill, the Divorce Bill, the Lands Bill, the Civil Registration Bill, and the Marriage Bill. Updates will be shared in due course once further developments take place. The Cabinet Committee on Legislation, which is administered and chaired by the Minister of Justice, considered and approved a combined total of 21 bills in over 21 sittings this year. The Ministry of Justice has developed 2 new electronic case management systems for enhanced processing of extradition and mutual legal assistance requests. Electronic case management systems were also procured to manage the administration of trusts and speed up the processing of legal aid applications. During his address at the opening of the legal year, the President urged the ministry, together with the judiciary, to urgently address the need for improved accessibility to legal services for persons with disabilities through the incorporation of Braille and sign language services. The Ministry of Justice thus reports that it has successfully launched its customer service charters in 7 main vernaculars and the Braille language for visually impaired persons. These charters set out the key functions of the ministry and its promises to its customers. The Ministry of Justice, as responsible custodian of the infrastructure for the courts as administered by the Office of the Judiciary, has been actively engaged in exploring innovative ways to enhance court capacity. This includes improving the resource limitations at the 36 community courts in the country, finalize and table the small claims court legislation and commence with a pilot project. Staying with courts, the Ministry of Justice is pleased to report that it has resolved the legal dispute with the previous contractor for the Katima Mulilok Magistrates Court and has appointed a new contractor to finalize the contract as a matter of urgency for usage by the court officers, staff, and public in the Zambezi region. The ministry reports the opening of the victim-friendly court facility to hear gender-based violence matters at the Mungunda Street Magistrates Court in Kadatura late last year, and the refurbishment of the child-friendly waiting room with the generous assistance of Gondwana. The ministry has also commenced constructing a victim-friendly court in Keetmanshoop on land availed by the regional council. Further update on developments will be shared in due course. In addition, other projects for upgrading and maintenance of existing court and office buildings are ongoing. The ministry further, in collaboration with the Prosecutor General and key partners, plans to set up a wildlife court in Oshivarango to ensure speedy and effective hearing of cases involving wildlife crimes. Effective partnerships have proven to be a key success factor for this initiative. The Ministry of Justice has operationalized the Witness Protection Act of 2017. This act provides for protection services to be rendered to witnesses who need protection, especially in high-profile cases. This milestone will ensure efficient prosecution and trial in criminal cases. An acting director was appointed, benchmarking exercises have taken place, institutional organogram development has taken place, positions approved, and setting up of the unit and the staff is at an advanced stage. The Directorate Law Reform. The Law Reform Directorate continues to play a crucial role in promoting justice, efficiency, and fairness within the legal system by recommending changes that address contemporary challenges and ensure the law remains relevant and effective. The Ministry of Justice presented to Cabinet the report on the review of Article 46 of the Namibian Constitution and Section 77(4)(a) of the Electoral Act 2014 by the Law Reform and Development Commission. Given the reintroduction of this motion in the National Assembly this year, the ministry tabled the report in the National Assembly as there is a need to address the certainty of the concerned constitutional provisions. The ministry also wishes to report that the Law Reform and Development Commission has now been established, and in due course, the Office of the Presidency would make an announcement in this regard. The ministry has taken on board more than 200 law and admin interns to curb youth unemployment and to give graduates some exposure to the employment market. This has proven an effective strategy as many of them got employment opportunities either in the ministry or elsewhere. We are very proud of our internship programs, which includes our international interns from McGill University, 1 this year, Canada, and Michigan Law School in the USA, 3 international interns. In the Directorate Legal Aid, successes in the granting of legal aid to indigent litigants has surpassed all our expectation, and a total amount of 35 million Namibian dollars was allocated for legal cost budget for this. With access to justice as an important pillar of our democracy, the ministry reports that we have received approximately 10,200 legal aid applications this year, with 7,500 granted and 2,700 denied. The Ministry of Justice, in its quest to improve coordination with various OMAs and NGOs and civil society organizations towards the provision of legal services and/or representation for the indigent, signed a memorandum of understanding with the Law Society of Namibia for collaboration to enhance access to justice and improve service delivery. The MOU will span for a period of 5 years and is expected to enhance access to justice and service delivery. The areas covered in the Memorandum of Understanding include, among others, the exchange of information, availing of capacity, and sharing of expertise and best practices on legal matters, and promoting the development of the legal profession and the protection of its integrity. Finally, the Ministry of Justice has and continues to engage various UN agencies, embassies, and high commissions to promote international cooperation on issues of mutual interest and benefit. The Ministry of Justice had a total of 17 bilateral or related engagements in the year under review with UNDP, UN Proper, UNODC, the Director General of WIPO, EU, USA, UK, Commonwealth, Spain, Brazil, Venezuela, Cuba, Kenya, South Africa, Turkey, Japan, China, Canada, and several civil society organizations. Several of our MOUs are under consideration, the South African one finalized, and Spain at an advanced stage. The challenges of delayed finalization of deceased estates and the resource and other limitations, including proposals to improve legislative text for improved service delivery, is being considered and implemented through a task force at the Master's Office. But Ministry of Justice has learned, despite the severe constraints, to do more with less. We wish the Namibian nation a wonderful festive season and renewed strength and energy for the prospects of 2024. We are because you are. Namibia is all we have. Let us pull in the same direction where no one should feel left out and we share prosperity. Let us show much love and care during this festive season where not all have access and provision. I thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the Honorable Minister of Justice, Honorable Yvonne Dowse, bringing us an update in terms of what has happened for the past 2 months and really mentioning the past developments within her ministry and so forth. Don't forget, you can also interact with us on social media. If you have any questions for the Honorable Minister to answer, you might as well go on our page. That's the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology - Republic of Namibia. That's where you can pose your question if you have any question. And also don't forget, for those ones who are also following us on MBC TV and radio, you can also go through our social media platforms, and that's where you can pose your questions. We also have some media practitioners in the building. I want to see if any of them have a question to the Honorable Minister. Really, she highlighted quite a lot of achievements in the last 2 months that the ministry has been carrying out. Anyone from the media houses? Any questions? I see my brother Andreas is here. Are you having any question? You're good. The minister has covered it. Minister, maybe we can quickly have a short discussion in terms of, it's good that you're back. We thank you for really prioritizing this platform, really giving our people the much needed information in terms of your ministry and so forth. I think you highlighted a bit about the marriage Act that is being amended. What is the process or the progress thus far?
So just to explain that the Marriage Act is actually administered by the Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration Control and Safety and Security, and not by the ministry. The role of the ministry is at 2 platforms. At the level of cabinet, where we have our discussions, and because the Ministry of Justice, or the Minister of Justice, chairs the Cabinet Committee on Legislation, that's our involvement, the extent of our involvement. And of course, when it comes to the drafting. But in terms of policy direction, what the status of that particular piece of legislation is, that's the responsibility of the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Very well. You also spoke about, taking the magistrates and the courts closer to the people. I think we have seen the High Court judges going to towns like Rundu and Katima. Are you also part of that initiative as a ministry?
Yes, I mean, we are part in the sense that we provide support also to the Office of the Judiciary. As you know, in 2015, through an act of Parliament, the Office of the Judiciary was established. In other words, it was removed out of the Ministry of Justice for good reason, because we want to reaffirm and buttress the importance of the independence of the judiciary, but also we want to ensure that the judiciary gets the support that they need. Oftentimes, members of the public confuse support with interference.
Yes.
So the Constitution is very clear under Article 78 of the Namibian Constitution. It says that we must not interfere with the work of the judiciary, but we must provide them with support. And the kind of support that we provide is that we assist them with setting up infrastructure, in other words, court systems. The minister is involved, for example, in the appointment through the recommendation of the Magistrates Commission of magistrates, for instance. We are also providing support that budgetary increases are provided for the Office of the Judiciary so that they are able to do the work that they need to do. You'd imagine that some of the delays, and I know members of the public often complain, and rightly so, about the lack of speedy finalization of cases, the fact that we have congested court rolls and so forth. And so when I'm talking about that we increase the jurisdictional value of the magistrates court. It just means that previously magistrates court could only hear matters that go up to 25,000 Namibian dollars. We've increased that amount now to 1 million Namibian dollars. That means more and more people would be able to go to the various district courts in the country and don't have to go to the high court when you have a claim of 30 or 40,000 Namibian dollars. And that, I think, makes it a bit more accessible. Also, it will reduce legal cost because, typically cost in the magistrates court is lower than costs in the high court because, it's a different kind of platform. Something else that I want to just highlight is that Namibians don't often know that they can go to court themselves.
Okay.
You don't always have to have a lawyer to go to court. And I think we mentioned it in our plans for next year is when we introduce the small claims court, we hope that will also alleviate the pressure of the magistrates court. These are all our efforts to make courts accessible, also to make legal representation affordable, and also encourage more and more Namibians, if they're in a position to do so, to take matters to court in their own name.
Indeed, indeed. You also mentioned a bit about capital projects within the ministry, and I want you to also correct me if I'm wrong. We only have 2 high courts in the country. Are there perhaps any plans in the near future to perhaps establish some other high courts in other areas besides Oshakati and Windhoek?
Yes, I think those plans are in the pipeline. What will probably happen is, because we are only working, we are only responsible for capital projects administratively, we have consultations with the Office of the Judiciary, particularly the Chief Justice, to say what are your areas of concern for new courts that we would like to do. I can imagine that in the big service centers in the country, we would be willing to set up high courts.
Very well. Lastly, before I let you go, Honorable Minister, maybe some plans for next year. What do you look forward to as we go into the year 2024?
We're certainly looking forward to establish the courts that we have identified that have been gazetted. I know Umthia, Okahao, Kurenkuru on the priority list for next year, so we're excited about that because that means we are increasing court capacity and it's kind of responding to the exponential growth of our population. So that's one thing we're excited about. I'm certainly excited about the bills that we're going to be tabling in the first term of the session of the National Assembly, ombudsman, divorce, and I think the other ministries will also be, and I've mentioned some of them, but just from a Ministry of Justice perspective, we are looking forward to increasing the pool of people that will be representing, providing legal aid to, and we hope that members of the independent legal profession, through the Memorandum of Understanding that we signed with the Law Society, we hope that we can increase the pool of pro bono work and pro bono lawyers making themselves available next year. Next year is also an election year, so it's going to be important to do a lot of the work right up front. Yeah. Legislation that we want to pass and so forth, so that when the time for elections draws near, we would have done most of our substantive work. So there's a lot that the Ministry of Justice is excited for, and we are also excited about the opportunities that we are presenting to our young people who are doing internships, who are getting employment. I had my executive director in the House, and I hope at the next session she'll be able to talk a little bit more about the number of people we've appointed into the ministry. You would have seen every month we were advertising vacancies. So we are excited about the prospects of 2024.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for really making time to really update the nation in terms of the development within your ministry. And we wish you nothing but the best for the festive season and the year ahead.
Thank you very much. It's an important platform. We want to remain engaged with the members of the public, and the public also have access to our offices. It's an open door, and we are available if there are any questions on our social media platforms to raise. People can ask questions, and we would always come back with a response on our social media platforms if you're not able to come to our offices. We wish everyone a wonderful festive season.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Well, Namibia, there you have it. That was the Honorable Minister of Justice, Honorable Yvonne Dowsep, really bringing us up to breast in terms of the development within the Ministry of Justice. Don't forget, we bring you another edition of the Cabinet Committee briefing sessions. That's on Wednesday and Thursday. Same time at 10 a.m. on social media. That's on the Ministry of Information and Communication Technologies pages. And also not forgetting the National Broadcasting Corporation. That's NBC TV and radio. Now we have come to the end of this Monday edition of our session. We look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday and Thursday. From myself, Shakik and Jimmy, as well as the crew behind this great production. It's goodbye, Namibia, and you have been briefed.